Have you ever whispered a desperate prayer and heard nothing back? No sign, no voice, just silence? It's one of the loneliest feelings in the world. Crying out to God, begging for answers. And all you hear is your own heartbeat. You wonder, is he even listening? Did I do something wrong? Why is he quiet when I need him the most? You're not alone in that silence. You're not the first to feel it. And maybe that silence isn't what we think it is. Talk about it. There's a story of a woman named Maya. She lost her father unexpectedly. He had always been strong, a rock in her life. His death shook her world like a thunderclap in a quiet room. Every night after the funeral, she sat by her window and prayed. Tears soaked her pillow. She asked God, "Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you save him? Why didn't you speak?" And yet, day after day, only silence. Weeks turned into months, and the silence became louder than any noise she'd ever heard. It echoed in her soul. And for a while, she stopped praying altogether. But one day, in a quiet moment while folding her father's old shirts, she found a letter. He had written it years ago, never mailed it. In it, he spoke of peace, of acceptance, of being ready whenever his time came. It didn't answer all her questions. But in that moment, she felt something stir. Not a voice, not a miracle, but a calm, a whisper of presence. The thing about silence is that it feels like abandonment. We live in a world of constant noise. Replies are instant. Notifications never stop. We've been conditioned to believe that silence equals disconnection. So when God is silent, it feels like he left. But what if that silence isn't absence? What if it's space? Space for something to grow. Think about it. Seeds don't grow in thunder. They grow in stillness, in the quiet underground dark where no one sees anything happening. Even Jesus knew silence. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he cried out, "Father, if it is possible, take this cup from me." He wept, he was afraid, and what did heaven say in response? Nothing. No voice came down, no rescue, just the silence of a night heavy with stars. And on the cross, he cried, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Even then, silence. But that silence wasn't the end. 3 days later, the stone rolled away. Hope was reborn. Sometimes the silence is part of a larger story, a chapter, not the conclusion. Here's something hard to admit. Sometimes we don't really want God's voice. We want comfort. We want control. We want him to say what we want to hear. But God, he's not a vending machine. He's not Siri. He's not here to validate every plan we've already made. And maybe in his silence, he's inviting us to listen deeper, to learn to recognize him in the quiet, to grow up in our faith, not just live off the sound of his answers. Think about a teacher during a test. The teacher is silent, not because they've left the room, but because the student already has the tools they need. Maybe that's you right now, sitting in the test, looking around, realizing God's silence is saying, "I've prepared you more than you think." There's a kind of faith that believes in God when he speaks. But then there's a deeper kind of faith, the kind that trusts him, even when he's silent, because silence isn't the opposite of presence. Sometimes it is the presence, a quiet that holds you, a stillness that strengthens you, a pause before the breakthrough. So maybe, just maybe, God's silence is not rejection, but invitation to listen, to grow, to trust. And now I want to leave you with this. What if God's silence in your life right now is actually his most loving answer? Not because he's ignoring you, but because he's teaching you to hear him in a way you never have before. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.